Touchdown, Montgomery.
McClellan to the end zone.
Got him. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Football in Fenway. Finally, after back-to-back years of cancellations due to COVID, Cincinnati and Louisville, separated by just 100 miles, will star in the debut of the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Hello and welcome into the American Studios alongside ESPN college football analyst Rini Angolia, Taylor McCarg. I'm Morgan Uber. Bowl season meets Green Monster. Rini, what are your expectations for this long-awaited bowl?
I mean, I'm excited that it's going to be there. I know I've been to that stadium a lot of times, but for baseball games, not football. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this one.
Taylor, what are you looking forward to?
This is maybe the most unique bowl game for a number of reasons. Playing in a baseball stadium, what's going on with the head coach here, but excited that they're finally getting this bowl game off the ground and we're going to see two teams actually play in Fenway.
It's a rivalry that dates back years and years, known as the Keg of Nails rivalry. And Taylor, you alluded to it. Interesting situation going on with the coaching staff. We will get into that. But this is the 54th all-time meeting between the two teams. It dates all the way back to 1929, where Cincinnati won that first meeting. They played consistently from 66 to 2013, and that's when the two were both in the American when they met back December 5th, 2013. And the trophy right there, you see it. It's a replica of a keg that was used to ship nails. Certainly an interesting trophy. We see so many different types of great rivalry games with interesting trophies. So, Rini, Taylor, I'm curious, from your playing days or days as an analyst in the booth, Rini, what's the most interesting trophy of a game that you've been a part of?
So I've never played in one, but as an announcer, I've called a bunch. I did the Victory Bell, which is Cincinnati with Miami of Ohio. That's always a fun one to do. I got to do the Iron Skillet this year with TCU SMU. So that's probably the most fun one that I've done in a while.
At Rice, we played University of Houston for the Bayou Bucket. Most of the time when I was in school, though, we were facing Case Keenum on the other side. I wish I could say that we got to hold the trophy. Only one time when I was there, and Case was hurt at that point. But rivalry games, obviously one of the best parts of college football.
For both of these teams, definitely an interesting path of how they got here. And as we take a look for Louisville, they finished 7-5 overall and 4-4 in conference play, which put them fourth in the Atlantic Division of the ACC. The Cardinals didn't string back-to-back wins together until October 22nd, which then started a 4-game win streak, including a victory over then number 10 Wake Forest. And for Cincinnati, it was a year ago when the Bearcats were number 4 in the nation, playing in the college football playoff semifinal. But after losing 9 starters to the NFL draft, a lot of question marks for the Bearcats. They did drop their very first game of the season to Arkansas, won 9 of their next 10, giving them a chance to play for their third straight conference championship, but dropped their final game of the regular season to Tulane. 2 days after that loss, head coach Luke Fickell accepts the job at Wisconsin, and it's Scott Satterfield, the former Louisville head coach, now head coach of the Bearcats. This is definitely a unique situation. Not sure we've ever seen it quite to this degree here in college football, but seems sensical for him to stay at home, sit this one out, and Kerry Coombs going to be the coach there, the special teams coordinator for Cincinnati. Rini, how close, though, do you think Coach Satterfield's going to be paying attention to this one?
Oh, he's definitely going to watch it. It's a unique situation. And to your point, I can't remember it ever happening before. And we talk about opt-outs in the transfer portal for players. This is like the transfer portal for coaches. The way all these coaches are going different ways, but to team, it's nuts to keep track of. But he'll be watching. There's no doubt about it. You want to see your players that are coming back. You want to see how they perform, and then it's just obviously you've just coached at a program, right? And you led them to this bowl game, but now you're on the other side, so it's just a weird dynamic.
Well, the Fenway Bowl only has room for both teams to be on the same sidelines, right? So they're not on the opposite sidelines like they normally are. So I was hoping Scott Satterfield
right in
would
the
stand
middle.
right at the 50-yard line and yell both directions at both teams. But no, in all seriousness, it does make sense for him to sit this out. Thought it was an interesting hire by Cincinnati. Louisville, you heard the rumblings in the offseason about how they really weren't thrilled with Scott Satterfield, and they also wanted to bring home Braum from Purdue, which that ended up coming to fruition. So I think for Satterfield, this was an opportunity to restart the clock. I don't think he felt like there was a lot of runway left in Louisville. And for Cincinnati, it's an interesting hire with a guy that you're now moving into a new conference, and he was hovering around 500, maybe just above 500 at Louisville. So interesting hire for this bowl game. He'll certainly be paying attention, but I think at the same time on the phones with recruits right now.
Taylor, what is the identity of a Coach Satterfield-led team?
Yeah, a lot of mobile quarterbacks. I mean, think back to Lamar Jackson, Malik Cunningham, that type of athlete at the quarterback spot where you're going to play physical on the defensive side, and then you're going to lean on the ability to run the ball on the other side. In this game, it's all up in the air for Louisville. I mean, we're down to 3 coaches for Louisville in this game. This is really just going to be about your guys that are still there for both sides. Who wants it more? We've already talked about motivation some, but it really is going to come down to what does the prep look like in the weeks leading up to it, and then your young guys that are stepping up and getting to play, how well do they perform?
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I usually in games like this, I always give the advantage to the team that the coach stayed, right? Because the team where the coach leaves, there's just so much upheaval. There's so much going on. So now you have a game where they've both left. Because what people fail to realize is even the few assistants that stay behind, they're going to most likely be gone, either going with the coach or finding another job themselves. So their mind's thinking about their family, where they're going to go, where they're going to be coaching. So there's just a lot of distractions going on. But luckily for this game, there's distractions on both sides, and it's just nuts all the way around.
You alluded to it, no Malik Cunningham in this game. A lot of Cincinnati players opting out to prepare for the NFL draft and entering that transfer portal. So really, I mean, when we look at the stats head to head, Cincinnati does have the edge, but there's going to be, a lot of differences. Cincinnati, 31 points per game compared to Louisville's 27 total offense. Louisville has the edge. And then, with the scoring margins, both of these teams, they put up a lot of offense, but it's going to be Evan Prater who's going to be looking for his first career start to get a win. We saw him in that regular season final matchup against Tulane, not able to get the job done. Cincinnati loses that 32 home game win streak. How bad is he going to want to end this season with a W, Taylor?
Yeah, I think that's the key piece for Cincinnati is you're getting a look at Evan Prater as your starting quarterback. And earlier in the season when things weren't going great with Ben Bryant, there were a lot of Cincinnati fans that were calling for Mr. Ohio to get his opportunity to play for Cincinnati. And I think this is really the opportunity that he's been calling for a while. That, to me, is a critical piece for this game.
Yep, the highest rated recruit they've ever had there. And to Taylor's point, the fans want to see him play. This is Evan Prater's show now. We talked about Coach Scott Satterfield watching at home. He's going to be watching Evan Prater because, in my mind, it's Evan Prater's show moving forward at Cincinnati.
In the opportunities, Taylor, he did get this season, what gives you confidence that he has the ability to command an offense?
Yeah, well, he's been in this program for a while, and he was with them last season. Obviously, was behind Ben Bryant for most of the season this year. And when he had his opportunities, runs the ball really well. We know the type of athlete that he is. This is going to be an opportunity to try and step up in his downfield passing game. And to Rini's point about the remaining staff and all the upheaval, in a bowl game like this, it's going to be no holds barred. Yeah. The whole playbook is opened up. Do whatever you want. That's another piece for Cincinnati that'll be interesting is they were one of the most penalized teams in the country. Well, now most of your staff is gone. What does the discipline look like in a bowl game where there's only a handful of your coaches left? This is certainly the most unique bowl game out of everything, not just in this conference, but there's so much change with this bowl game.
You talked discipline, you've talked Prater getting an opportunity. When you look at keys to this game, what is the single biggest thing, Rina, that this comes down to?
Well, to me, because there's so much going on, it's just start quickly and do well early. And I think if you do that, you'll carry that momentum. And you just talked about it, Deion Branch was going to be the head coach for Louisville, right? He's not a coach. He was like director of football operations. So he's just trying to steer the ship. Kerry Coombs, I think, is a big deal that he's still there and he's kind of leading the way. A very experienced coach. Been around, been a big-time program, so I'd give the advantage to Cincinnati there. But I think for both programs, start early, start fast, and do well early.
Who's the X factor for you?
Evan Prater in this game. Certainly on the offensive side, I would say Ivan Pace on the defensive side, guys that you've leaned on all season. But for Evan Prater, if he doesn't play well, Louisville is another 7-5. It's a talented group on the other side. If Evan Prater comes out and plays the way that Cincinnati fans feel like he can, they're going to win this game.
I mean, the next X factor to me is no Malik Cunningham, right? I mean, he's just that dynamic of a player, not playing for Louisville. So it's all kind of leaning in the way of Cincinnati.
The Cincinnati fan base, their expectations are high, certainly after the job that Coach Fickell did. And he leaves behind a program that forever will be cemented in the history of the American for what they accomplished last season, 2021, breaking that glass ceiling, making the college football playoff. Rini, what is it that you'll remember Cincinnati most for, not just here in the American, but for college football as a sport?
Well, when you're a head coach and you take over a program, you always want to leave it better than when you took it over, right? And so a lot of the fan bases they get upset when coaches leave. This Cincinnati fan base will not be upset with Luke Fickell at all, because he's done a tremendous job. You talked about the first group of 5 team to make it to the college football playoff. He's recruited really well. I mean, we talked about it. 9 players go to the NFL draft last year, and again, still an outstanding season, going to another bowl game. So he's left them in a really good position as they transition to the Big 12 next year.
Yeah, this was a team, we had them earlier in the season, and offensive coordinator Gino Guidugli, who played quarterback for Cincinnati, talked about Cincinnati used to have to package their football season tickets with basketball season tickets. That's how the crowds were just a few thousand people, and now you go there, it's one of the best atmospheres in all of college football, not just at the Group of 5 when they were with the American. But I think what Luke Fickell and his staff have built there, he's had so many coaches come back where they've stayed on staff for years and years. I think he has done so much for that program, and I echo Rini's point. I don't think this is a fan base that's going to be disgruntled, because he could have moved on after last season. He held out for one more season, got them through this transition period, and oh, by the way, even after losing all those picks to the NFL draft, they still had a 9-win season.
And we talked about the hiring of Scott Satterfield. I think it was important for the administration in Cincinnati to get a head coach in there. Been there, done that, been at a Power 5 program. I think that's why they kind of lean for Scott Satterfield.
Well, back to the game now as we take a look between Cincinnati and Louisville. I mean, we've pretty much alluded to, I think Cincinnati has the edge in this one. I think this is a big opportunity for Evan Prater, like we've said all this entire show. Rini, who do you got?
I think we're probably all going to agree. I think it's a breakout performance for Evan Prater, and I think Cincinnati wins this game.
I think it's Cincinnati, also not only because of Evan Prater, but they're the side that has most of the production still playing in this game. Malik Cunningham not playing is huge for Louisville, and then the staff that they have remaining at Louisville, I think all of that lends itself in favor of Cincinnati.
And you mentioned it earlier, and I haven't even said it. Ivan Pace is arguably one of the best players, defense or offense, in the country. And so you're going to see him make a lot of plays.
Saturday, December 17th, it'll be the very first bowl for the American teams. That's 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. Finally, we've waited for this for a few years now. Football bowl season meets the Fenway Bowl. Looking forward to it.